My family's made son grew up alongside me. He was blessed with incredibly good looks, so much so that whenever we stood together, regardless of the occasion, he looked like the young master of the house, while I faded into the background. In my previous life, at my engagement party, he ruined all of my formal attire. Then, dressed in a sharp suit, he became the center of attention. Everyone remarked how he looked like the groom-to-be. My fiancée even fell head over heels for him, and they secretly pledged their love to each other behind my back. Devastated by the truth, I tried to tear them apart. But they pushed me into the sea, where I drowned. My parents were later framed and unjustly killed by him. Now, reborn, I've returned to the day the maid's son destroyed my clothes. Watching him open my wardrobe and tear my suits, I smiled. Please, I'm the heir to a vast fortune, and you're a servant who lives and breathes at my family's expense. How dare you try to compete with me? Chapter 1. Reopening my eyes, the first person I saw was Uncle Wong, the butler. Young master, it's terrible. The suit you had tailored has been taken by Shui Kai. When I chased out the door, I saw Shui Kai driving away in my sports car, leaving only exhaust fumes for me who was standing there. TSK. If I had known, I shouldn't have let him accompany me to take the driving test. Returning to the villa, Uncle Wong said that all the formal wear in the upstairs cloakroom had been damaged to varying degrees and could no longer be worn. Just like in a previous life, wearing casual sportswear, looking at the mess in the room and the clothes scattered all over the floor, I calmly instructed, Uncle Wong, call the police. I picked up my phone and dialed my mom's number. The call connected, and I quickly changed to an anxious voice. Mom, something happened. We have a thief in our house. In the previous life, Shui Kai wore my tuxedo and also damaged all my formal wear for attending formal occasions. My anger surged to my heart, and I drove to my engagement banquet wearing casual clothes. As a result, there was a traffic jam on the road, and when I ran into the banquet hall, I saw Shui Kai in a handsome suit had already become the center of attention, with my fiancée Zhang Yao and my younger sister Xie surrounding him. I lost my mind like a madman. I rushed up and beat Shui Kai up. The scene once lost control, causing my parents to lose all face. Afterwards, although I still married Zhang Yao as I wished, I didn't expect this marriage to become the grave burying me. After marriage, Zhang Yao used my dad's trust in her to enter the senior management of the company, secretly colluding with shareholders to engage in smuggling activities through illegal channels. And after the incident was exposed, she then shifted the blame onto my dad. After my dad went to jail, my mom, because of excessive grief, was distracted while driving and had a car accident, was seriously injured and hospitalized, and eventually died. My infatuated younger sister Xie was also framed by Shui Kai and Zhang Yao and imprisoned. In the end, in order to be with Shui Kai, Zhang Yao used a yacht to tie me up and take me to the high seas and push me into the sea. You are not even as good as Shui Kai's toe. Marrying you is the most disgusting thing I have ever done in my life. The icy seawater submerged over my head. The last thing I saw was the scene of Shui Kai and Zhang Yao passionately embracing and kissing intensely. Chapter 2. I arrived at the ballroom with the police. Pushing open the doors, the scene before me was identical to the one from my previous life. Shui Kai was surrounded by people, wearing my silver-white suit. The expensive fabric made him appear even more distinguished. Zhang Yao and Xie, like two symbiotic flowers, bloomed on either side of him, making him the center of attention. The only difference was that in my past life, my parents were frantically calling me, but this time, because I had warned them in advance, they simply sat quietly, observing the events unfolding in the ballroom with cold detachment. The lead officer approached Shui Kai. Are you Shui Kai? Seeing the police, Shui Kai was stunned. Yes, I am. Someone reported you for suspected damage and theft of personal property. Please come with us for investigation. Shui Kai looked at me with contempt. Zing, we were once like brothers. Do you hate me this much? I curled my lip. What did I do to you? Can you stop trying to shift the blame onto me? As if you're incapable of lying. He turned to the officer. Officer, this is a misunderstanding. My brother is joking with you. We're brothers. I quickly interrupted him. What nonsense are you talking about? Who's your brother? I wouldn't joke about something as serious as a burglary. I turned to the officer. My sports car was taken. The house staff said they didn't touch it. and many of the clothes in my dressing room have been damaged. I've arranged for someone to retrieve a copy of the home surveillance footage. We'll soon find out who did it. Hearing this, the people around us started looking at Shui Kai with suspicion. Shui Kai frowned. Ziyang, I know your family is wealthy, but that doesn't give you the right to insult me. Even though I'm poor, I'm still a man. You can't humiliate me like this in public. Just because you're rich, does that mean you can insult others and trample on their dignity? Cut the crap. I stopped him from continuing. So what if I'm rich? My parents worked hard for their money. Should I be condemned for having money? Everyone in this ballroom is someone of standing. Everyone has some wealth. According to your logic, are we all heartless rich people? I didn't give him a chance to speak. And even if I were heartless, it's not your place to play the righteous hero. You're wearing my suit, standing next to my fiancé. What kind of justice is that? I don't care about your self-respect, but before you say another word, why don't you return my suit? I had it custom-made for this occasion, not for you to steal and parade around in. Hearing this, everyone's gaze focused on the suit he was wearing. I thought something looked off about that suit on him. Turns out he stole it. I heard he's the son of the CF family's housekeeper. No wonder I've never seen him before. How shameless. Stealing the owner's clothes and then talking about dignity. The audacity. Shui Kai's face turned pale, unsure whether to take the suit off or not. As he hesitated, Zhang Yao finally spoke. Chapter 3. Enough. Zhang Yao stepped forward, blocking Shui Kai. Xie Ziyang, you've gone too far. She looked at Shui Kai with undisguised tenderness. It's just a piece of clothing. I think it looks much better on Shui Kai than on you. Why can't you be more generous like Shui Kai and give it to him? Don't you know the saying, the fragrance always stays in the hand that gives the rose? She looked at me with icy coldness. On such an important day, must you make things so awkward and embarrassing for everyone? She turned to the police officers. It's just a misunderstanding. Sorry to trouble you all. You can go now. The lead officer looked at her. Are you the one who reported this? If not, please step aside. She's an illegitimate child, a consequence of Zhang Fuhai's, the current head of the Zhang family, affair. After his wife died, he quickly brought Zhang Yao and her mother into the family. This isn't a secret locally. In my previous life, I was infatuated with Zhang Yao, chasing after her and catering to her every whim. In the end, she was the one who killed me, leaving me without even a whole corpse. But I'm no longer the lovesick fool I was in my past life. My gaze fell on Zhang Fuhai and his current wife hiding in the crowd. Uncle Zhang, this is just the engagement, and this is how your family treats me. Zhang Yao is speaking to me like this because of a man. Do you think this engagement is still necessary? The Zhang family status is far inferior to the Xie families. Zhang Yao and her mistress mother's current position in the Zhang family is directly related to my engagement. Hearing me call him out in public, Zhang Fuhai awkwardly stepped forward and glared at Zhang Yao. Apologize. Zhang Yao turned her head. I didn't do anything wrong. Why should I apologize? Zhang Yao's mother came over and discreetly pinched her, but she still didn't react. My father stepped forward, his gaze disdainful. Who do you think you are, Zhang family? If it weren't for my son taking a liking to you, would you even be qualified to stand here today? My mother pointed at Shui Kai. Officer, we must investigate this matter thoroughly. Please take him away for questioning. Xie Ziyan, who had been silent, suddenly spoke. Dad, shut up. Look at how pathetic you are. Like a penguin begging for food at the zoo. You're an embarrassment to me. Xie Ziyan could only watch helplessly as the police took Shui Kai away. Chapter 4. The home surveillance clearly showed Shui Kai walking into my walk-in closet, picking up my suit and walking out. When he reappeared in the surveillance footage, he had already put on the suit, and in his hand was an extra pair of scissors. He opened the wardrobe that I specifically used for suits, picked up the scissors and cut through them piece by piece. The surveillance footage from the garage also showed that it was him who got into my sports car and drove it away. The evidence was conclusive, and Shui Kai had no room for denial. In the police station, Shui Kai knew that disaster was imminent and had no choice but to bow his head and apologize to me. Ziyang, I know I went a bit too far, but I just wanted to play a joke on you. There was no other intention. Can you forgive me? I took out my phone, pressed it a few times, and handed it to him. Counting everything, it's a total of 530,000. If you can compensate for my losses, I will issue a letter of understanding. What do you think? You should admit your mistakes when you are wrong, and stand straight when you are beaten. You understand this principle, right? 530,000 is not a small sum. His mother works as a nanny in my house and only earns 7,000 yuan a month. He can't afford this much money at all. Because of today's incident, Zhang Fuhai locked Zhang Yao at home, forbidding her from going out, so he couldn't count on Zhang Yao to come and be a heroine saves the hero. Moreover, with Zhang Yao's identity as an illegitimate daughter, she also can't come up with so much money. The celebrity circle looks down on her kind of bastard with an unknown background the most. Although she was brought back to the Zhang family, Zhang Fuhai controls her very strictly, so naturally no one will lend her money. Except for me. Unfortunately, I have just been reborn, and I am no longer the love-struck fool who was obedient to her. But I didn't expect that Shui Kai actually managed to gather enough money. A text message on my phone notified me that 530,000 had been received, and I immediately and readily signed the mediation agreement. I'm a person who always keeps my word, but I didn't regret it until after I signed the mediation agreement and walked out of the police station. I wondered how Shui Kai could raise so much money in such a short period of time, and it turned out that it was all transferred to him by my good sister, Xie Zian. Shui Kai just called out Yin Yin in a smoky voice on the phone, and that lovesick fool happily transferred the money to Shui Kai's bank card. Looking at Xie Zian and Shui Kai hugging each other, I was so angry that smoke almost came out of my 7 orifices. What's the difference between this and moving your own money from your left pocket to your right pocket? What's even more infuriating is that she actually brazenly brought Shui Kai back home again. Chapter 5. Waking up in the morning, I pushed open my bedroom door and heard the voices of Shui Kai and Xie Zian coming from downstairs. I went downstairs and saw Xie Zian in the dining room, clinging to Shui Kai like a remora. When the two of them saw me, they simultaneously revealed expressions of shared hatred, as if I had committed an unforgivable crime by sending Shui Kai to the police station. A lavish breakfast was laid out in front of them, while in front of me it was like a wasteland after a locust plague. Not even a glass of plain water was offered. Wu Ma in the kitchen saw me come downstairs, but acted as if she hadn't seen me, turning her back directly to me and busying herself with tidying up the kitchen. This was her way of venting anger for her son, intending to give me a show of force. I coughed twice, but she still ignored me. I called Uncle Wang over. A useless person who can't even make breakfast. We might as well replace her. Uncle Wang nodded. Yes, young master. I will arrange it right away. Shui Kai couldn't sit still any longer. Xiezeng, why do you have to fire my mother? Because it's been almost 10 minutes since I came downstairs, and I haven't even seen a glass of water. The CF family is not a charity, and I don't have that much kindness to support a useless person. Xie Zian slammed the table. Don't you have hands yourself? Can't you pour your own water? I glanced at her sideways. Xie Zian, don't force me to scold you first thing in the morning. She's a nanny. She's supposed to work, otherwise why did the family hire her? As decoration? Speaking of you, you are still my own sister, yet you are blindly helping an outsider to accuse your own brother. Has water gone to your brain? Wu Ma stood behind Xie Zian, without a trace of panic on her face. Young master, I was hired by the master and madam. I'm not earning your money. Even if you want to fire me, it has to be the master and madam who speak. You don't have that authority. I've been in the CF family for over 10 years. Even if I don't have merit, I have worked hard. I have always regarded you as my own son. Young master, for you to speak to me, an elder like this, isn't it too uncultured? Since Wu Ma thinks my son is uncultured, then go find a cultured family to be a nanny for. Mom stood on the second floor, looking down at her condescendingly. I've been watching from upstairs for a while. Since you are unwilling to work in our CF family, then why not just resign? Wu Ma was no longer arrogant this time, and hurriedly explained. Madam, I didn't mean that. I was just concerned about the young master, afraid that he would suffer losses outside, so I... Exactly, Wu Ma is right. It's Xie Zian who was being too unforgiving. He was the one who was wrong to begin with. Xie Zian didn't notice the displeasure in Mom's eyes at all, and was still trying to defend her. He usually loves to bully Shui Kai. If it weren't for Shui Kai's magnanimity, I would have long ago. Xie Zian, Mom interrupted her incessant chatter. Get back to your room, and stay there for life if I don't allow you out. Seeing that Mom was angry, she didn't dare to act up, glared at me resentfully, got up, and went back to her room. As she passed by me, she whispered, Siezing, you just wait. Chapter 6. Aunt Wu wasn't fired after all. I pleaded with my mom to keep her, saying I'd see how she performed in the future. I'd only threatened Uncle Wong about replacing the nanny to scare her. That mother and son duo had put me through hell. How could I let her off so easily? Aunt Wu nodded and bowed, profusely thanking me, but the resentment in her eyes wasn't well hidden when she looked up. That's exactly what I wanted, her dissatisfaction. Tormenting her was the only interesting thing to do. The next day, Zhang Yao came knocking. Xie Ziang, I misjudged you. I didn't expect you to be so tyrannical. Shui Kai just wore your clothes, and you want to kick his mother out. What are you really planning? If you don't apologize to Aunt Wu and Shui Kai, I absolutely won't marry you. Her words filled me with joy. Great. Hurry home and tell your parents to call off the engagement. I'll explain it to my parents too. We'll go our separate ways, no one owing anyone anything. You walk your sunny path, and I'll cross my precarious bridge. How's that? If it had been before, if Zhang Yao had said those words, I would have immediately run to Shui Kai and apologized, begging for his forgiveness. But I'm not the same as before. Now, not only don't I want to listen to her, I want to send her to hell. She didn't react for a moment after hearing me. What do you mean by that? She suddenly realized, Xie Ziang, let me tell you, don't play hard to get with me. Quickly apologize, or I'll really get angry. I leaned against the door frame, arms crossed. Go ahead and get angry. Let's see what you look like when you're angry. Xie Ziang, don't test my limits. Are you going to get angry or not? If not, I'm closing the door. She pointed a finger at me. Xie Ziang, I'm really giving you face. Do you believe I couldn't hold back when I saw her finger practically touching my nose and slapped her hand away. Zhang Yao's hand was knocked away and slammed hard against the doorframe, causing her so much pain she almost cried. Xie Ziang, you fucking dare. She was halfway through her harsh words when I grabbed the watering hose beside me and doused her head with ice-cold tap water. She was soaked like a drowned rat, and I chased her around the yard, spraying her with the hose. Who are you fucking with? Call off the engagement? Good. Do it. If you don't, you're not human. Illegitimate daughter. What are you so arrogant about? If this young master wasn't here, you wouldn't even be able to get through the Zhang family's front door. I'm just spraying you, so what? Go ahead and call the police. At worst, I'll pay for a new outfit. Testing your limits? Today, I'm not just testing them. I'm going to break them. Zhang Yao was wearing a light gauze cheongsam today. The water made it cling to her body, revealing her curves and making her underwear vaguely visible. She looked as pathetic as could be. After spraying her for a while, my anger subsided, and I threw down the hose. Go do whatever you need to do. Next time you dare say any useless nonsense to me, I'll strip you naked and throw you out on the street. Zhang Yao, soaking wet, glared at me hatefully. Seeing me pick up the hose again, she covered her chest and ran away. Uncle Wong stood by the door, reaching out to take the hose from my hand. Young master, would you really be willing if she called off the engagement? I raised an eyebrow. What's there to be willing about? A dog that can't be trained, it's just killed. If she really dares to call off the engagement, then I'll truly be impressed. But the question is she really willing to call off the engagement with me? Chapter 7. Zhang Yao ultimately didn't have the courage to break off the engagement with me, so she just endured this humiliation. She lied and said she fell into the river, covering up the fact that I soaked her. For a short time, she didn't have the energy to prance around in front of me, so I turned my attention to Shui Kai and his nanny, Wu Ma. Uncle Wong is absolutely my soul mate when it comes to making things difficult for people. We work together seamlessly. Wu Ma, I want to eat beaten rice cake tomorrow. Buy some glutinous rice later and make it yourself. Make sure it's chewy and not sticky. Wu Ma, I want to eat fishball noodles. I like Christian carp. After you buy the fish, make sure to remove all the bones before making it into a paste. Don't let any bones poke me. Wu Ma, I want to eat dumplings tonight. Machine ground filling isn't good. Buy 10 pounds of lean meat and mince it finely. Don't let me see any fat in it. Wu Ma, vegetable oil isn't fragrant for stir fries. Buy 10 pounds of fatty meat and render the lard. Also mince it finely. Don't let me see any lean meat in it. My demands became increasingly excessive. Wu Ma, seeing her workload increase by 1,800% compared to the last 2 days and 2,300% year-on-year, was completely exhausted and finally snapped. "Aren't you deliberately trying to torment me?" I sat on the sofa with a look of disdain, arrogance, and shamelessness. "I am deliberately trying to torment you." Uncle Wong appeared behind me at the right moment, like a refined gentleman. "If you want to do it, do it. If you don't want to do it, get out. If you don't want this job, plenty of people do." Wu Ma obediently shut up, but this was only an appetizer for them. While racking my brains to make things difficult for Wu Ma, I started ordering Shui Kai to do all sorts of chores. Shui Kai grew up in my house. Mom and Dad thought they were finding me a playmate, so naturally they never made him do any work. But the scene at the engagement party let Mom and Dad know that they had not only raised an ingrate for so many years, but this ingrate had also bared his fangs at their own son. Naturally, they no longer had any fondness for him. Thus began Shui Kai's nightmare. Uncle Wong not only thoughtfully kicked him out of the second bedroom next to mine, but also considerately moved him into the storage room downstairs. I directly treated him as a servant in the house, bossing him around. "Shui Kai, fix the table. Can't you see the garden needs tilling? What are you still standing there for? Fold me 20,000 paper cranes. I want to donate them to the earthquake-stricken area overseas. I'm currently in negotiations with Mongolia to buy an aircraft carrier. Hurry up and clean the pool in the yard so I can start training." Shui Kai finally couldn't take it anymore and threw the mop he'd been using to clean the fish pond at my feet. "I just realized, you're making this all up." I glanced at the pool he'd been cleaning for 2 days. "How did you figure it out?" A smug look flashed across Shui Kai's face. "Mongolia doesn't even have a sea. Where would they get an aircraft carrier?" "Xie, why are you ordering me around? I'm not your servant." I nodded. "You're right, you're not. But your mother is... Oomph. Don't think that just because you have some dirty money, you can shit on other people. Your money doesn't give you the right to torment us poor people. What makes you so arrogant?" "Shui Kai, I'm paying your mother to be a nanny, not to bring her fatherless bastard to my house to freeload. Don't want to do it? Fine. I'm not forcing you to sign an indentured servitude contract. If you don't want to do it, you can get out right now." "Xie, I'm repeating myself. I'm not your servant." Uncle Wong appeared again at the right moment. "Shui Kai, the CF family has no obligation to provide you with food and lodging, so if you can't exchange your labor for it, then I can only regretfully inform you to move out at your earliest convenience. But I'm the nanny's dependent." "Sorry, I don't like nannies living in my house with their dependents." I leaned back on the sofa and glared at him. "Either clean the pool by tomorrow or get out." Chapter 8. Xie, who had been enjoying herself outside and forgotten about home, finally returned. Seeing the look of trouble on her face, I knew Shui Kai must have secretly called my dad from the swimming pool to complain about her. She kicked open my bedroom door. "Xie, who told you to, Dad? What are you doing here?" My dad was holding a thick stack of photos and threw them in her face as soon as he saw her come in. How could I have given birth to such a spendthrift wretch? He slapped her hard across the face. "Look at the mess you've made." Xie, looking bewildered, picked up the photos. After only glancing at them, she glared at me with resentment. "You ratted me out to Dad." "Xie, I'm not done with you." The photos showed her and Shui Kai gambling in an underground casino. In my previous life, she had been dragged to an underground casino by Shui Kai, developed a gambling addiction, and was eventually lured by Shui Kai to open her own underground casino, which led to her imprisonment. So, in this life, I hired a private investigator early on and obtained crucial evidence. My dad was trembling with anger and swung his arm for another slap. "I told you not to go astray. If your brother hadn't discovered it in time, you would have gotten into trouble sooner or later, and you dare blame your brother." I handed my dad the new collapsible baton I had bought. My dad took the baton and with a swish, extended it to its full length. "I'll break your hands and see if you still dare to gamble." Xie was so scared that she ran away, scrambling and crawling. I discreetly curled my lip. With so little courage, she dared to open a casino. I thought she was bolder than this. Although the female lead is gone, the show must go on. Uncle Wong stood at the door of my room and knocked. I gently patted my dad's back to help him calm down and looked up to ask, "Uncle Wong, what's wrong?" "Sir, the pair of sapphire earrings that Madam lost a few days ago have been found." "Good that they're found," I asked casually. "Where were they found?" They were found in Wu Ma's room. I also found Madam's previously lost emerald ring and icy jade bracelet. In my previous life, this was the woman who gave her son the idea to join forces with Zhang Yao and throw me into the sea. I've been making things difficult for her for so long, and now that I've vented my anger, it's time to put an end to it. When the police arrived, Wu Ma cried and wailed, fainting several times from crying. I accompanied my mom to the police station to give a statement. Because the stolen items were of great value, Wu Ma was likely to spend the rest of her life in prison this time. Shui Kai rushed to the police station and saw Wu Ma already in handcuffs. The mother and son's parting was very touching, and I was so embarrassed that I went to the toilet twice. That acting, it's really diuretic. When I came out of the toilet, Shui Kai's true colors were completely revealed, and he looked at me with the eyes of a bear ready to devour someone. Xiezing, this matter is not over. You wait and see. Your sister and your wife are both on my side. Do you think you, a mud loach in a mud pit, can make much of a splash? We'll see. I'll make you look good sooner or later. Chapter 9. Shui Kai's words woke me up. Although Zhang Yao and Xiezian were severely injured by me, they weren't at the point of no return. My current situation was still not optimistic. So I bought a large bouquet of roses and went to see Zhang Yao. Xiao Yao, I'm sorry, I went too far before. I can't live without you. I care about you too much, that's why I targeted Shui Kai. I know I was wrong, please forgive me. Shui Kai won't forgive me now, and I don't dare to ask for his forgiveness. I'm a sinner, and I will spend my whole life atoning for my sins. I knelt in front of Zhang Yao with flowers in my hands, incredibly sincere, but she remained unmoved. Until I pulled a bank card out of my pocket. It doesn't matter if you don't forgive me, there's 6 million in this card. All my allowance. It's all yours. I'm sorry to Shui Kai. You can buy him some things to compensate him. Consider it a small repayment for the wrong I've done him. Zhang Yao snorted and snatched the card from my hand. Since you're so sensible, I'll spare you this time. I continued to grovel and pulled a key out of my pocket. This is the key to Shui Kai's current residence. Xiao Yao, I'm sorry to him. He must want to throw up when he sees me now. You go and take care of him for me. Zhang Yao's eyes lit up. Are you telling the truth? I nodded vigorously. Truer than gold. As long as you can forgive me, baby, I'm willing to do anything for you. This made Zhang Yao overjoyed. She reached out and helped me up. Ziying, don't worry. I promise the first child will be yours. I fought back the nausea and hugged her. I know I have many shortcomings. As long as you don't dislike me, don't abandon me, I'm willing to do anything for you. I performed a manly sob. Xiao Yao, I can't live without you. Zhang Yao hugged me absent-mindedly. I understand. Understand my ass. Ever since Wu Ma's incident, Shui Kai didn't dare to return to the Xie family villa. He left behind all his personal belongings, even the half-clean swimming pool. The aircraft carrier training had to be temporarily shelved. Zhang Yao took the bank card and key and rushed to find Shui Kai to continue their affair. She didn't know Shui Kai had been taken by Xiezian to her other house. That place had now become their Eden. In Eden, Adam and Eve never wear clothes. As soon as Zhang Yao left, a servant called Xiezian. Miss, it's bad. The young master went out with a few thugs. I vaguely heard him say he was going to the house you bought near Gidge's grave. He also said he was going to teach someone a lesson. You should go back and have a look. Sure enough, within a minute, my phone rang. The caller ID displayed, "Number 1 idiot." I pressed the answer button, and Xiezian's furious voice rang out. Xiezing, if you dare lay a finger on Shui Kai, I won't let you off. Won't let me off? I'm your brother. What can you do to me? I snorted coldly. Xiezian, I'm coming to where you're hiding your wild man. I'll make Shui Kai regret being born into this world. If I don't beat him black and blue today, I won't deserve the name Xie. Xiezian's voice was distorted. Xieziang, come at me if you have a problem. Don't touch him. I gave an order to the non-existent thugs around me. Go upstairs and kill that bastard. After that, I hung up the phone. Xiezian and Zhang Yao got into a fight, and they fought fiercely. I had previously activated a signal jammer outside Xiezian's house. She couldn't get through to Shui Kai, so she rushed back. As a result, she stormed upstairs intending to play the hero saving the beauty. But the moment she opened the door, she heard the passionate sounds of Zhang Yao and Shui Kai. How is it, baby? Am I better than that dried-up Xie girl? You're much more exciting than her. A swarm of media, like flies drawn to sweetness, gathered outside Xie house with their cameras and microphones. The spectacular catfight between Xie and Zhang Yao was faithfully recorded by the media. Shui Kai stood not far away, like a frightened little wife. "Oh, stop fighting. I love both of you, okay?" My face was full of resentment, and the cameras didn't miss the shot of me enduring immense pain as I struggled into the car. Now, everyone knew that the illegitimate daughter of the Zhang family not only cheated on her fiancé, but also had a public brawl with her future sister-in-law. I sat in the car, watching the three people surrounded by reporters, and smoothed my hair. Uncle Wang's gaze met mine in the rearview mirror. "Young master, your acting is truly superb." I raised an eyebrow proudly. Of course. Zhang Yao had completely offended the Xie family. Xie Zian vowed to ruin the Zhang family. Zhang Yao had nowhere to turn and could only come to beg me. "Xiang, you have to save me. If Xie Zian continues like this, I'll really be kicked out of the house by my father." Zhang Fuhai was always cold and heartless. For the sake of his fortune, he could even send his own mother away, let alone his insignificant illegitimate daughter. I trembled with anger, pointing at her and gritting my teeth. "I asked you to take care of him for me, and this is how you take care of him? Did I ask you to cheat on me? How dare you come to me for help now? Do you know that because of you, I've become a laughingstock in the entire upper-class circle? Because of your little affair, it's all over the news. Everyone says that Xie Xiang's fiancé looks down on our Xie family, that I'm eager to be cuckolded, that I'm a pimp. You're an illegitimate daughter. If you weren't engaged to me, you and your slutty mother wouldn't even be able to enter the Zhang family's door. How dare you treat me like this? I treated you with such kindness." Zhang Yao was so anxious that she became incoherent. "You have to believe me. Shui Kai forced me. I'm also a victim." "You have the nerve to say you're a victim? You were moaning so loudly that day. Do you think I'm an idiot? He drugged me. I couldn't control myself. I couldn't help it. Stop making things up. You probably don't even believe that yourself." I glared at her hatefully. "Since he forced you, then go online and clarify. Go to the police station and report that he broke into your house and raped you. Get him thrown in jail." I spat phlegm in her face. Zhang Yao, you're still lying to me. You disgust me. Let's break up." Chapter 10. Someone secretly filmed the video of Zhang Yao begging me for forgiveness and me spitting on her and posted it online. Zhang Yao, already in the eye of the storm as the illegitimate daughter of the Zhang family, became the focus of even more attention, and the anticipated online abuse flooded her. An illegitimate daughter plays like this. The wealthy circle is really dirtier than the entertainment industry. Eating from the bowl while eyeing the pot. Truly the #1 scumbag woman in the world. Pan Jinlian would have to call you senior. Her own mother was a mistress. This is a true inheritance, a family tradition. That Shui Kai isn't any good either, two-timing, just a butt-selling gigolo. Faced with the ubiquitous online violence, the Zhang family became the target of public criticism and was universally condemned. Rumors of mistress succeeds and scumbag woman betrays made the Zhang family totter and become unstable. At the same time, I directly brought a large number of media outlets and announced the termination of the engagement in a high-profile manner. In view of Ms. Zhang's recent actions, I, Xie Ziang, am voluntarily terminating my engagement with Ms. Zhang. From now on, Ms. Zhang and I will have nothing to do with each other. Here, I would like to wish Ms. Zhang Yao and Mr. Shui Kai a happy ending, 100 years of harmony, an early birth of a son, to grow old together, continue to work hard, and create greater glories." I finished reading the script with a face full of grief and left the scene quickly, ignoring the media's retention. I had to leave, or I would have laughed. Back home, Xie Zian was the first to object. "Xie Ziang, what did you mean by that? What do you mean by wishing them a happy ending? If they have 100 years of harmony, what about me?" I looked at this silly deer in shock. "Xie Zian, are you crazy? Are there no other men in the world? Shui Kai slept with Zhang Yao? And on your bed, do you still want such garbage? Are you sick?" Xie Zian became anxious. You're not allowed to talk about Shui Kai like that. He's the best man in the world. I dislike him. My dad couldn't help but slap her. Have you been bewitched by him? Is there no one else in your head besides him? My mother looked at her in disappointment. Arrange a blind date for her, and things will quiet down if we marry her off sooner. Chapter 11. Zhang Yao, who was dumped by her fiancé, and her mother were kicked out of the Zhang family. She wasn't the only illegitimate daughter in the Zhang family, and for Zhang Fuhai, her presence or absence made no difference for the new year. After all, Zhang Fuhai was known for his womanizing, so having a few illegitimate daughters was not unusual. After Shui Kai learned that Zhang Yao had lost her power, he decisively severed ties with her, directly blocking all of Zhang Yao's contact methods. Having lost a patron, Shui Kai once again sought out Xie, and the two rotten fish got together again. This time, Xie had learned her lesson and dared not settle Shui Kai in her villa again, instead going to a hotel with him to open a room. So, I thoughtfully asked someone to call the police, saying that someone was engaged in illegal prostitution activities in the hotel. The two were taken away by the police barely clothed, and successfully made it to the top of trending searches again. Although the two were eventually released after being questioned at the police station, this matter was still widely spread and caused a great uproar. The blind date arranged for Xie before was a well-known troublemaker in the wealthy circle. Upon learning that Xie was caught opening a hotel room with someone, this young master directly brought people to make a scene at home, and even had someone drive a bulldozer into my yard and fill in my family's swimming pool. This matter made the family lose face, but there was no good solution. After all, Xie was at fault first. In the end, my parents couldn't bear it any longer. Rather than letting her cause trouble domestically, it was better to let her go abroad and lose face. At least no one would know her abroad. So, Xie was tied up and sent onto my family's private plane. Before takeoff, I secretly increased the pilot's salary, so the pilot thoughtfully changed the destination to Siberia. After Xie went abroad, the down-and-out Zhang Yao came to me again. She was wearing a washed-out dress and looked very down and out, clearly not doing well. After all, the bank card I had given her before was frozen by me on the same day. Ziyang, your position in my heart has always been irreplaceable. Shui Kai and the like, I don't care about them at all. In my heart, you are always ranked first. How about we start over? I looked at her coldly. Not good at all. Zhang Yao's mouth twitched, and tears welled up in her eyes. Then what do you want me to do, to forgive me? Zhang Yao, you just move your upper lip and lower lip without any sincerity, trying to get something for nothing here. How can you expect me to believe that you have truly changed your mind? How can you expect me to believe that you are a lost sheep who has returned? A strange light flashed in Zhang Yao's eyes. She looked at me intently, as if she had made a huge decision. Zing, don't worry. I will let you see my sincerity. Chapter 12. Zhang Yao was taken away by the police. I called them. That day, when she said she would make a gesture, I became suspicious, so I hired someone to follow her. Zhang Yao rented a yacht and lured Shui Kai out. When the yacht returned to shore, only Zhang Yao was on board. She had thrown Shui Kai into the sea. He vanished without a trace. Faced with irrefutable evidence, Zhang Yao couldn't deny it and confessed to the murder. She was sentenced to death with a reprieve for intentional homicide. The next time I heard about her, she had gone insane and been transferred to a mental hospital. I want to see her. She was in a straitjacket, having just undergone electroconvulsive therapy. Her whole body trembled, drool dripped from her mouth, yet she still yelled, I'm the Xie family's appointed daughter-in-law, second only to the head of the family. You all have to listen to me. A nurse Pride opened her mouth. Ma'am, time for your medication. The doctor smiled apologetically at me. Patients like this, well, sometimes electricity is necessary. I nodded, satisfied, and turned to leave. Once in the car, Uncle Wang looked at me through the rearview mirror. Young master, where to next? I leaned back in my seat, stretching comfortably. Back to the company. There's a board meeting this afternoon. Yes, young master.